Hey guys, I'm doing a video on this because I feel like there's a lot to be said and there's a lot of thoughts, and I think that just the topic is deserving more of it's just hard. I don't want anybody's ideas or thoughts to go ignored, and there's so much to talk about. So anyway, I just wanted to capture really quickly the idea of why did Jesus, and I don't have the answer, but this, it's just like these random remembrances over time as I've questioned, why did Jesus have to die on the cross? And there's so much to it, but a word that keeps popping into my brain is atonement. And it's for all humanity because humans, I think, because of our sin, like everything from just selfishness to actively ignoring God the way Adam and Eve did, ignoring his instruction. Over time, I think it's like mainly in the Old Testament, humanity became so far from God, so separated from God, and they were doing things like, I think Ken mentioned in the emails that there's a story of one person who was saved based on their righteousness, or, but how rare is that? I don't know. But so they would do sacrifices and things like that to make things right with God. And so things were very different like that in the Old Testament, with the sacrifices. But so that brings me to, humankind, all of humanity had gotten so far away from God, or from being able to kind of do those same old things to be right with him, that Jesus became God's way of atonement, of making things right, of giving people a chance, giving humankind a chance to make things right with him. And so there had to be, because of hell, because of Satan, and because of the human condition, Dave said, something about, mentally ill people being victims of their faulty hardware or software. We all are. We're all victims of our faulty hardware. We can't get right with God. We cannot be close to him without Jesus. Because of Jesus, we have a chance to be close to him. Which kind of brings me to this other idea that faith, our faith, we have to be active in it. And so when people say, hearing from God, or, that the Bible is, it's just kind of like, I keep coming back to this idea that we have to be intentional. We have to be in the Word, so to speak, studying, reading, praying, and just connected to people. As much as I'm a bit antisocial, I know one of the reasons I know Jesus lives in me and that I've accepted Jesus is because in times that I'm in relation with God, that I'm praying, I'm studying the Bible, I really am loving God, and I know that there's a different feeling. You feel different. I feel different. Talk about me. I feel different. I'm the word peace comes to mind. I'm more at peace. I'm more accepting. My brain is working, I think, the way God meant it to work. And not because, yes, I'm making an effort, but mainly because that's how he made us, to be connected in that way, not only to him, but mainly to others and to him. But Anyway, so gosh, it's so much to put together. And those are just some random thoughts I'm having initially. After reading your emails, I didn't really get into the chapter because of its, I really liked the preface, by the way, because he's kind of like, I don't know, but chapter 1 just kind of, I felt like I had to take a philosophy class to get into it. It's just, not my speed, but I will continue trying to read it and probably just making random comments about our emails and stuff. And I know I'm probably saying a lot of wrong things, but I'm sorry. And those are just my ideas and thoughts. Oh, and then about your idea, Dave, about I had an idea about skepticism and my faith. And he said in the chapter something about, well, is skepticism or doubt, is that like conditioned? Is that something that that people, not you, Dave, but that people that people that are doubtful or skeptics, maybe that's something they were conditioned to do, or a skill. I think he called it a skill that they've honed or learned. And so I think sometimes my lack of skepticism, I wonder sometimes on the opposite end of that is my lack of skepticism, my propensity to believe and to take on, to really kind of believe at face value many of the things that I, about Christian faith, and having come to believe at a young age, I wonder if that's just my propensity, to not be a skeptic or to not have doubt. And so now I'm worried that maybe I just believe because of that, like a simple-minded kind of genetically predisposed brain, lazy brain that I have. So anyway, there's just a little thought on that about where I'm at right now, wondering about that. Love you, honey. Have fun. They're going out to do snowmen. So anyway, I just thought a video would be easier than I wrote like a ton in my journal, and I thought, well, I'm just going to take a picture of what I wrote, but then I realized that you guys aren't going to be able to read it because my writing is terrible. So here's my journal. Anyway, I know I have more thoughts. Oh yes, the mental illness perspective and sin, and I think I think that mental illness, again, that, you use that phrase about them being victims, and mentally ill people being victims of their hardware or software. I think they are, and I think we are too. I think we all are. That's the faultiness of human nature, because of sin and because of Satan. So hell and sin, why we need atonement, why God had to come as Jesus, and why we need the Holy Spirit now that Jesus is risen. But so somehow that's all connected. Again, it's not all gelled for me, but mentally ill people, I think that if they've had people in their life, just like any of us that have invested in them, do they know about God? Have they been prayed for? Yeah, they might be crazy, but they might believe. We don't know. Like psychiatry is a very young scientific field compared to other sciences. But I think that the mentally ill person, just like a mentally well person would, there's a line. I think there's a fine line where only God knows, in your relationship with God, where you're really at. What are your real intentions? What is your real belief? So somebody that looks to be or seems to be devout, They go to church every week. Maybe they lead a study group at church. I don't know. Maybe they're a leader in their church, a deacon. I don't know. Someone that would appear to be so may not be a true believer. And so we don't know. It's not for us to know. I think it's this individual person's relationship with God and what they're actively doing in that. Are they intentional about that relationship with God? And, I think there's a lot to be said about, us just not knowing, and it's not for us to know, but it is for us to, one, love God, read the Bible, pray. And the way I think of prayer is just talking to God, asking these kinds of questions to God, or any kinds of questions to God, just everything. And reading the Bible is God's way of talking back to us, as well as in relationship with others. We get answers. And so putting all that together with intentionality, I think, is what faith is, what makes faith, what builds a faith. And the reason I say that is just because I know that in times where I am being intentional about those things, I do hear more from God. I do hear more answers, or I'm more at peace, or, and then there are times where I'm like I'm just not doing any Bible studies. I'm not really praying very much. I'm just kind of self-focused or lazy, or I don't really hear from God, and I don't feel at peace, and I feel unhappy, or I want to be more disconnected with people. I don't want to socialize and stuff like that. And that's not, I'm not my best. I'm not well then. And so I think that might be a selfish way to look at things, but when you're well, the way God has intended, for the most part, I think that then you have the most chance of him being able to use you in some way. But I think that being there's so much, isn't it? My goodness, I could see how you had written all that out, Dave, and then you lost it all. How frustrating. But an example of, like, there was a time in my life where I really was intentional, and I really felt like I could I could kind of hear, not hear like literally, but like know that it could come to me, and like I would know kind of what God was wanting. And I don't know, I kind of hate to say that, because then I don't want to sound too much like Jill, but but it was a time in my life when I was working. It was my hardest job ever, was working at the psychiatric hospital. And I was I was on the adult acute unit. I was fairly new, and the team that I was working with was seasoned nurses, LVNs, kind of like the guys that would kind of like the bouncers, the doctors and the other therapists. Everyone else had been there for quite a while. So I was a newbie, and people were burnt out, especially the head nurse and two of the bouncers. And they were mean. Oh, they were mean. Like they don't like counselors, because we would go in there and we were kind of more the touchy-feely. We weren't really into all the things that they would do to control them. And I think that there was just a lot of burnt out workers on that team, and so they weren't nice to me. I could honestly say I experienced, what is that, like bullying in the workplace? I can't remember what they call that, but I definitely feel like I could have made a good case for that. Like, they would pick on me, say things under their breath. They would definitely leave me out. Like if I'd walk onto the unit, there was like a nursing station, and then you walk, and then a wall, and then there'd be like where the patients hang out, and so I'd walk behind there onto the nursing unit, the nursing station, and they'd all get quiet. They wouldn't provide me information in our meetings about like how patients were doing. We would have, just to, safety things. And so, definitely outed. And one day, it was discouraging. I really found it hard because I really wanted to work in a psychiatric hospital for whatever reason. And, I really wanted, at the time, I was still getting my license. I was still working on my license. I was an intern, and I was like really gung-ho. I wanted to help people, and I just really had just this love for like hurting people, like sad people and hurting, and I just wanted to care for them, and it was hard. It was really hard. But anyway, so one day, I was, we were there on the unit, and a patient had come up to this nursing station and was waiting to, I don't know what, to get something or to ask a question. And she just was observing for a little while, I guess. And she said, and yeah, so she was crazy. But one of the best compliments of my entire life, and that I probably will ever get, was from her, a patient. She said, Celeste walks with God, in front of all these hardened people that were burnt out, that outed me, and not all of them. There was a group of them, like 3 out of 6 maybe people, but they were like quiet, like everyone just looked at her, and and then she walked away, and but I felt like yes, she's crazy, and is that really a compliment, or what does that really mean? But I think it was such a compliment because, including, those people, the hardened people, the ones that were the hardest, seemed to like shut up after that, like just kind of leave me alone after that, and weren't so cruel, I guess. They weren't so like yucky all the time, and I felt like after that things were a lot softer about their presence there, working together or working with me. And later, I can't say that, I just think that later on I do remember having laughter with these people and developing more of a good working relationship. Not that we became friends, and I definitely didn't take that opportunity to witness to them, but I think that I like to think, and it's not for me to know, but I like to think that God, because I was faithful in that time in my life, I think that God, I hope that God used her or used me to soften their, however they were viewing the workplace, or how they viewed me, or the roughness of it. It was a hard job. It was a hard place to work. So I don't know, but it was one of the greatest compliments of my life. And it was a time when was just a backwards weird time. The compliment came from a backwards weird thing. But I think that God, that's how God is. I don't think God works the way we want him to work, or how we think he should work. I think we just kind of make him too small sometimes with all these questions and analyzing and skepticism. I think that's just me, but maybe that's my small-mindedness. And so I'm appreciating this book because it's kind of making me question that a little bit. Like maybe I'm small-minded, and maybe I'm lazy-minded, and I don't do enough skepticism. Although I will say that I have in my life really questioned, had all these questions, like, does God really exist? And my grandmother was Catholic. She was my first example. My mom was not religious at all. She believed in, the zodiac signs or something like that, like reading the newspaper and going to like crystal ball people, fortune tellers. And my dad would sporadically take us to a Christian church, but I think that I came to leave Catholicism and search Christianity a little bit more on my own as a teenager. So anyway, all right, that's enough for now. Talk to you guys later. Bye.